we're back. This is the book, The Holocaust Industry, Reflections on the Exploitation of Jewish Suffering. Norman Finkelstein is the author. He's written other books too. There is, I suggest, a central thesis to the other books, which is not dissimilar to that in this, which is that no denial of the Holocaust, but, and indeed the author's parents were in death camps, but there's been an exploitation, a political and monetary exploitation since then. Ideas have consequences. We're going to talk about your ideas at great length, but it must be troubling, to say the least, that any neo-Nazi website, any Holocaust denier website, they just love you. Oh, they adore you, because here's a Jew, and they can say, look what he says. It surely must hurt the memory of your parents and you. Of course, an idea is an idea, and it doesn't matter if bad people exploit a bad or a good idea, but how do you deal with that you're constantly quoted by those who deny the Holocaust and actually would like to kill Jews if they could?
Well, let me just make a general answer, and then I'll get to the specific one of the Holocaust deniers. The general answer is that my book, my little book, attempts to restore the actual record because I am concerned that the truth be preserved. I am concerned that the memory is not falsified and then open to Holocaust denial. The real Holocaust deniers are the Holocaust industry, not me, and I don't mean that as a kind of rhetorical trick to play, to spring on you.
Yeah, but
the fact
it's
that
not a trick, but you're not answering the question.
Okay.
We can get to that later. The question was, how do you feel when, and let's not pretend that people generally say, well, I was reading the Holocaust industry today. You are the darling of Jew haters, Holocaust deniers, and anti-Semites. I'll say again, I'm a relatively deep thinker. It doesn't mean the idea is wrong if bad people exploit it, but it must hurt you as a son of a survivor, as a Jew, that you're on every Holocaust denier's website and they use you as a weapon.
Politics makes for strange bedfellows, and it's deeply regrettable. On the other hand, for example, one of your homegrown Holocaust deniers, Mr. Zundel.
German, actually.
Right. Well, I think he resides in Canada.
No, he's in the States now, I think.
Oh, he's in the States.
Yeah, we lost him.
Okay, well,
you can't win them all.
When he was here, occasionally he would send me huge packages, and I noticed that the files he assembled included people like Raoul Hilberg. It included people like Abraham Foxman, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, because all of them had denounced for different reasons, but they had all denounced the Holocaust compensation racket. You can't always, determine who's going to make use of what you write. It's regrettable. I'm not happy about it, for sure. I'm uncomfortable with it, for sure. But basically, in any moral decision, life would be very easy. Life would be very easy if moral decisions only had consequences that you want. But that's just not the way life is. You know, in my city, when the telephone workers go out and strike, a senior citizen may die because he or she can't contact an ambulance. That's a moral consequence of a strike. Yeah. That's real. But then you have to weigh the consequences. Does that mean every civil worker has to give up the right to strike? I don't think so. And the same way...
I used to teach a bit of philosophy. That's a pretty strained analogy.
Why?
Because none of the moral, sociological, intellectual content is similar from one part of the analogy to the other.
No, the thing is, in moral decisions, there are always consequences which were unintended or undesirable.
So let's talk about morality and absolutes, because you criticize someone in particular, and I think you're right to, the historian who wrote that the Germans had a particular penchant or ability to hate and kill, and I actually reject that thesis. I also read a piece you wrote in the New Republic, I think it was recently, which I thought was hysterical. There are elements in what you say that are certainly worthy of consideration. But have you not lost any of the ambiguity or the ambivalence in your thesis? It seems that you had an idea and you gallop ahead and you gallop ahead, and some of the things you say, some of the terminology, did you refer to World Jewish Congress and Canadian Jewish Congress as hucksters and gangsters and thugs?
Hucksters, gangsters, thugs.
So I know some guys in the Canadian Jewish Congress, and we may agree or disagree. I don't see them as thugs and gangsters.
Well, maybe...
Couldn't you just say they were wrong?
No, I don't think this was a question of wrong. They were fully cognizant of what they were doing. They were fully knowledgeable that they were blackmailing the Swiss. They there was no lack of knowledge on their part of what they were doing. They were not unknowledgeably hijacking the colossal suffering of the Jewish people in a shakedown racket. That was not done sleepwalking. They knew exactly what they were doing. Are you trying to suggest to me they are not aware that when every day the handful of surviving victims of the Nazi persecution are begging them for a health care plan, are they not aware that they're denying these victims simply a health care plan from all the money they have accumulated?
What I'm saying,
according to their own estimate, they have accumulated approximately $14 billion, and they don't have money for a health care plan for survivors.
What I'm saying, I suppose, as someone who studied under, and you'll be aware of these men, A.J.P. Taylor, I'm sure you, G.R. Elton, Bindoff, as an historian, that with all due respect, you can take on a very difficult issue and you can mold and shape and tear that issue, but none of those great men I studied under would use terms like gangster, thug, and huckster, and they could, goodness me, I saw them destroy people intellectually, but they didn't have to sort of use that sort of language. And excuse if this is wrong, I apologize, but it's the language of the dockside bully rather than the intellectual and the historian.
Well, you know, I'm not here to defend a language. Honest people can disagree on those questions.
Yes.
And, you know, Professor Hilberg, if you've read his The Destruction of the European Jews, he doesn't have a single adjective in the book. He has no adverbs in the book. He has an extremely dry style. In my opinion, extremely effective, but it's devoid of any kind of rhetorical embellishments.
No adjective anywhere in the book?
If you read the book, you'd be very surprised.
No, I have read it, but I think you'll find there are adjectives there.
Not much. Not much.
I've never seen a book without an adjective.
Well, my point is, he's a serious historian.
Yeah,
he's able to look beyond the language and judge the content.
Yes.
And my question is, if we're serious, why aren't we judging the content of what I've written rather than get lost in what my opinion is a diversion to avoid the very ugly facts I reveal in the book? We can disagree about style. I do have to say, though...
Because, sir, language and language is a tool. When one uses language, the only purpose of which is to destroy argument, it has to be an issue for us to debate. When you say you are a thug and a gangster, you're not saying, let's have open debate. You're saying, you're wrong. You mustn't have an opinion. It's like someone who accuses someone of racism to silence an argument. You're intelligent, man. You can't say, I can call someone a thug and a gangster and encourage open debate. You're silencing them.
No, I don't think I've silenced them. I think the shoe is rather on the other foot.
You're here?
Well, I'm here, but I will assure you this is a very rare television appearance. And I've
You're
never...
going to be on counterspin. It was Paul Martin that got you the boot there because of that.
I've never been on the television in the United States, and I wasn't interviewed once on radio in the United States. My book wasn't even reviewed in the United States. However, let me return to your point.
I've got a break, excuse me.
Okay.
Len, Judy, Erica, Donna, lots of other calls. We'll get to all of you when we come back in a couple of moments on Michael Coren Live. Watch the commercials and back to us.